Good afternoon, lovely people, wherever you are joining us from this morning and Victoria's evening. I've got the lovely Victoria Volk with me. And Victoria and I also connected on the platform Podmatch. I had quite a few really beautiful, fascinating guests come on and share their story. And Victoria, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself to our audience, if you don't mind. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank
I'm
you.
Victoria Volk, and I have a business called The Unleashed Heart, and I live in rural North Dakota. I think the whole state's kind of rural, but anyway. And yeah, I'm a mom. I have 3 teenagers and married, and I work in the grief space and also do energy healing.
Beautiful. I absolutely love it. And I want to hear a little bit more about that throughout our chat today. Victoria, if you don't mind, I would like to start with your background, though, with your story and how did you get into that work? What is your personal experience with grief, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's been a lifelong adventure in grief. And my father passed away when I was 8. He was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I was about 6.5 years old, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so much of my childhood, most of it, he was sick and then he passed away. So um, it, and at the same time, my grandmother was also dying of melanoma. So my mother had a lot of things that she was worrying about, and she was caring for her mother and she was caring for her husband, and there really wasn't a lot of time for me to be mothered, and there wasn't a lot of space for my grief. And my grandmother did live with us for a short period of time as well. I remember that time briefly, but she had passed away, and then about a year later my father did. So it was a really trying time for my mother. And
I can only imagine.
yeah. And I would say, well, within a year, she had met someone else, and my sister had moved away. She graduated high school, and she was a huge influence in my life. She was like my
How
second
much
mom.
older was your sister, if I don't?
9 years older.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So she must have
Yeah,
had a very mothering influence for you, in
she
particular with
did.
your mom not being as present. Yeah.
And I had a brother in between too, but he was
Hmm.
kind of, 14, 15, got a job, did
Yeah.
his own thing, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it was just a lot of change and a
Mm.
lot of trauma in a short period of time, because I was also sexually abused
Mm.
between the age of 9 and 12.
Yeah.
And so there really, I really, I think I just really buried a lot and
Yeah.
became a very, it really showed up. Grief shows up differently over the
Hmm.
years. Like especially when you grow up with it, it's
Yeah.
going to present itself differently as you get older.
Yeah.
And as I was getting to my teenage years, um, the relationship with my mother really changed. And
Mm.
there wasn't a lot of trust. There wasn't a lot of feeling safe and secure, and, all
Yeah.
those things. My mother did remarry the man she had started dating,
Hmm.
but that was not a healthy marriage.
Hmm.
Um, it was just a really difficult upbringing. I really
Yeah.
had to parent myself from a
Mm.
very young age, and I learned how to do that.
So how
Um,
old were you when your older sister moved out?
well, my dad passed away in March
Hmm.
and then she graduated that May. No, it would have been the following May. So within the year,
Yeah.
my mom
Yeah.
had remarried and
So
she
you were
moved
about
out,
9 or
and
10 when she moved out.
yeah, 9, and then
Yeah.
my mom remarried and she moved out. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
really difficult time for me. A lot of
Yeah.
loss, a lot of
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
And
We often talk about this accumulated loss, when one thing happens and it leads to the next, and then you think about all the things that you lose with that. And it's not only people that we're talking about, it's that feeling of safety, of security, of family, of unity, of community, and your sister in particular being there for you and then moving out as well. That I can so see the
and my
implications that happen there.
and my father's family. So
Yeah.
once he passed away, they weren't even in my life anymore.
Mm.
My grandparents weren't either.
Yeah.
And so I lost a whole family
Yeah.
as well. And so to try to make sense of that and understand that, you make your own stories as a child when no one sits you down and explains things to you.
Yeah, of course.
And
I think, yeah, if I just may say quickly, I think it, well, I know from experience, it makes such a huge difference how your environment supports you, in particular when you're that little. I mean, I was now I say I was lucky enough that I was 20 when I lost my dad. Back then, I did not feel lucky at all. But then I looked at my boys and they were 10 and 8 when they lost their dad, you know, so my little one was same age like you. And it is so different when you see that and how they understand and how they cope at that age. But um, I say that without blowing my own trumpet. They were lucky enough to have me to hold space for them because I had the experience and I had the background. So not having that support, I have a pretty clear understanding of how devastating that would have been for you, not knowing where to turn and being completely alone with all of that. You do make up your own stories and your own reality almost, I'd say.
yeah, and you really stuff down
Mm.
and probably, you know, and especially with sexual trauma, probably
Yeah,
dissociate from your own body, you know,
yeah,
and, you know, grief is cumulative and it's cumulatively negative. And so that
mm.
wasn't where my grief ended. Like there, you know, you grow
Yeah,
up, you have more grief, right?
mm.
So the grief continued in well into my adulthood.
Mm.
And it was when I had children because that really the anger started to come up for me.
Mm.
And it was all
Yeah,
of that buried anger that I had
wow.
not expressed and didn't have a way to channel it and
Hmm.
um, didn't have an outlet of expression. And I did journal, um,
Mm.
but my mom read my journal. So that
Oh,
kind of stopped me from journaling,
yeah,
you know,
so much for
so
trust. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I just really learned how to just not care anymore and
Yeah.
became very angry about it. And I really, you know, it sets you up too for to be really, because I'm sensitive too on top of it. You know, I
Mm.
was the kid that was called the crybaby because I would cry all the time.
Mm.
And so, you know, I heard often children do hear, you know, if you want something to cry about, go to your room
Mm.
and cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. I
Yeah.
heard that, you know, so
Yeah.
I actually hid to cry. I'd go under
Yeah.
my bed, cry myself to sleep, go in the linen closet, cry myself to sleep. Um, Actually, the kitchen cupboard, actually, one time too, but they
Mm.
actually sent a search party out for me because they could not find me because I hid to
Mm.
cry. Um, so yeah, I did not know how to express my emotions,
Yeah.
and there was no
And how could
space.
you
And
when you're that little and you
yeah,
don't learn it, you don't have, you know, a model to look up to learn how to actually do that? I mean, how can you? Can I ask
they
at what stage did you actually, or did you ever grieve the loss of your childhood? The not really having like a proper childhood per se, because first there's the sickness and there's the loss and there's the grief and there's the sexual abuse. There was like literally not a moment from where I stand where you could just be a child and be loved. That's what you're
all my
supposed to be as
life.
a child. And did you ever get the chance to really grieve your childhood?
Not until I've gone through grief recovery did I
Yeah.
learn how to even learn how to,
Yeah.
where it didn't debilitate my life, you know, or here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing too, if you try to, or if you attempt to, okay, first of all, you can't heal on an island. You
Mm.
can't address your grief on an island. I've tried it for 30
Mm.
plus years. It doesn't
Mm.
work. You
Yeah.
need the support, you need the
I know what you mean.
guidance, and you
Community.
have to learn how to do it in a supported
Mm.
way. And because I didn't have that ever, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't until I knew how to do it, how to grieve,
Yeah.
and how to process all of those emotions that I never had the opportunity to
Yeah.
before, that really
Yeah.
just changed my life. It literally changed my life because I
Yeah.
went down to Austin, Texas to certify as a grief recovery specialist in
Mm-hmm.
2019. And it
Wow.
was really a full circle moment too, because it was after I'd written my book and I had reconnected with my uncle. He was
Yeah.
my father's last living
Mm-hmm.
brother. He
Yeah.
had been diagnosed with brain cancer. And I went to see him, and I had not seen
Mm-hmm.
him since my father's funeral. And that was about 30
Wow.
years, almost to the day.
Wow.
And
It's
we had
incredible.
6 months. Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
had 6 months to reconnect. And
Mm.
that changed my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm glad you did that.
And yeah.
It takes a
And
lot of courage. So I just want to say kudos to you. That's incredible.
yeah, I didn't even know if
Mm.
he'd know me when I walked in the
Yeah,
door.
of
But I
course.
had this, I felt pulled to see him, and I felt like
Mm.
he needed to see me. Like he
Yeah.
needed it.
Wow. I'm having goosebumps when you say that. My whole body is just covered in goosebumps right now. Victoria, there are a couple of questions that came up while you were talking. First of all, tell us a little bit about your book. What is the book about? How did you come up with writing the book?
I knew I had wanted to write a book. I had talked about it for a good 4 or 5 years prior
Mm.
to it. And just a happenstance conversation, a one-off
Mm-hmm.
conversation with someone who told me about a book writing
Mm.
course.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was taking beta testers for it. And I had the
Oh,
privilege
wow.
and the honor of being a part of it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with 3 months, I wrote my book, The Guided Heart.
Mm.
Um, and it was really at that time, because I published it. It came out in 2017, towards the end of
Mm-hmm.
2017. And um, it was more or less what I had been learning up to that point.
Mm.
Spirituality was not a part of my life up
Mm.
until um, my husband and I got together, really, because he was a faithful person.
Mm.
He had a belief system,
Mm.
and I was kind of angry at God for most of my
Mm.
life, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
um but it
I
was a
was
very
too.
slow.
After my dad
Yeah.
passed, I really questioned a lot of my faith and sent me on a spiritual journey. So I can imagine what you must have gone through.
And that's the other important thing I want to mention for people too, is that
Mm.
when you don't sit with your children and talk about the truth about what happens when someone
Mm.
dies, and it could be your beliefs, right?
Mm.
But again, it's just sharing what if you don't have anything to hold on to, you make up
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it can be so beneficial for a child to feel like they
Mm.
can still have a connection with that loved one, that
Yeah.
it doesn't end just because they died. They can still
Yeah. I
talk
agree.
about the person. They can draw
Yeah.
pictures about the person. They can
Mm.
write stories about the person. They can
Mm.
ask questions about the person without
Yeah.
upsetting somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what I so often see, is that parents or grandparents or whatever don't want the child to even talk about the
Mm.
parent or the person who died, because it upsets them.
Yeah.
And that's really dishonoring the child's grief,
Yeah.
and lack of, it's not supporting their journey and
Mm.
understanding grief.
Yeah.
But
And
I
may I
think we
say, it also
come,
dishonors the person that has passed, because I'm a big believer to keep saying their name. You're not forceful, not in a we have to talk about him every day, but just in a natural way. Why tell children they're not to talk about it? I really don't agree with that. So yeah, it really holds you back in your own grieving journey and puts even more confusion into yours, into, well, how am I supposed to deal with this? How am I supposed to talk, not talk? And there is so much expectation in our society that really does not support us in the way we heal, in the way we grieve. So how did
well,
you go from, sorry, did you,
yeah, I was just going to say,
before I
and I
ask
think
myself,
if, as a person who
yeah,
is, let's say you are a parent of a child who's lost a significant,
mm,
like significant loss,
yeah,
if the child bringing that person up upsets you, you
mm,
need to look within and ask yourself why that is.
I agree. Yeah,
Because I think we're so
100%.
uncomfortable to talk about our feelings and our own grief,
Yeah.
that this is how these generational patterns continue
Mm,
over time. These
yeah.
beliefs about grief, like, we don't talk about it, we sweep it under the
Mm,
rug, we stuff it
yeah.
down. But eventually we implode or we explode. We just do. It comes out as migraines or eczema or fibromyalgia. You know, we have these issues
cancer,
with our
whatever.
bodies. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Or we have angry
It's all
outbursts.
the unresolved emotions. Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more with you. I also I watched one of your interviews and I heard you speak about the replacing, and that really spoke straight to my heart because I'm a huge believer in not replacing anyone. But I also really believe that that we can recreate things that we need, that we are not supposed to live with a hole in our life, a hole in our heart, or whatever people refer to. I was never a big believer in that. I know that I can't replace my husband and I don't want to, but it doesn't mean that I want to stay alone for the rest of my life either. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's about creating what we can, stepping into empowerment and healing, allowing that healing in, allowing joy, allowing happiness back in. And I strongly believe that grief and joy can absolutely coexist. I'd love to hear your input on that, your insight. What came up for you in your own journey, and what have you relearned when you did the grief recovery method?
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. And I just want to elaborate on replacing the loss. It doesn't have to be replacing one person with another person. You can be replacing that loss with workaholism.
Possible.
You can be replacing that person with shopping or gambling or drugs or alcohol. You know, replacing the losses, it's like you said, trying to get something you need from something, some external, something else.
Sources,
either it's a person, a person or a thing or a behavior, which we call STIRBs, short-term energy relieving behaviors that people resort to.
I love it.
Yeah.
I never heard that. I love it. I need to write this down. STIRBs.
STIRBs.
Write this down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the thing where people don't recognize, they, especially workaholism, they might think they're doing, I'm handling my grief. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing fine.
I'm just keeping busy.
Yeah. That's one of the myths of grief, keeping busy.
Absolutely.
And other people on the outside see you functioning and going about your day and doing life and going to work and, oh, well, she must be doing
She's doing all right.
Yeah. But then she goes home and drinks a bottle of wine at the end of the night. Every night.
Every night, exactly.
That's how it starts,
Yeah. It's really interesting that you say that, Victoria, because I remember after Rob died, I deliberately didn't drink alcohol for quite some time, and I'm not an addict. I don't have a problem with alcohol or without. I know it's a stupid joke, but I'm just saying it. It's just something where I made a deliberate choice because I didn't want that to become a coping mechanism. I very deliberately decided I don't want any sort of way out or just ease this or ease that, and then it could build up. I saw that there was a potential, it could potentially happen, and I thought I don't want to do that. It was a very conscious decision for me in that moment, and also I thought, hey, I'm a sole parent now. If something happens in the middle of the night, they get hurt, whatever, I have to go to hospital, or not even that bad, but they need me. I want to be present for them. I don't want to be sitting there with my third glass of wine or something. I really made a very conscious decision about not doing that. Yet I also see what you say, in terms of when people really make the decision to put their mind to something that keeps them busy. I think it's the trickiest and most challenging thing to actually sit with your grief, to allow the emotion to, when you mentioned anger before, anger is such a cover-up emotion, to look what's actually underneath. What is the driving force of that anger? What's the actual emotion behind it? And that, to me, is work where you said that so beautifully. You can't do that on an island. You need support. You need someone with an outside perspective. You need someone to guide you and hold space for you through the thickness of that. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey from the book to doing the training. There was roughly 2 years from the time frame that you've given me. In 2017, you released the book, and in 2019, you started the training. Tell us a little bit about the journey that got you into it and how you went with the training. I bet it must have brought up a lot for you to work through as well during the training.
Well, the book did too.
Yeah, I
The
bet.
book was really, the book
Yeah,
was really the first time I was really
catalyst.
kind of
Yeah.
looking at
Mm.
things differently. And um but I realized, right, I think writing the book actually helped me realize that I wasn't okay.
Mm.
And I had a friendship um, that fell away because I recognized after the fact, in hindsight, right, that
Yeah.
I was trying to get something that she could not give.
Mm.
She, I'd never met anybody like her. I felt like she was a sister from another mother. I really felt
Mm.
connected to her, like a
Mm.
spiritual sister in a
Yeah,
way,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And I was too much for her, I believe.
Mm.
I know I was now,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
I was too intense or too much at the time. Like, but it was
Mm.
because all of that stuff I had come up when I was writing the book, right? It was after that I had met, we had started to, started this online friendship, right? We had
Yeah.
known each other for quite some time, and we would talk and on the phone and stuff. And
Mm.
um, I just felt really connected to her as a
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
And she just, it, she cut ties, and it felt
Mm.
abrupt and it felt abrasive and
Yeah.
hurtful.
Like
But
another
I
loss, really.
realized it was, but I
Yeah.
recognized, because of that, I recognized how I would take things so personally, and
Mm.
how in other friendships, there was always something that I would find. I don't know, it just, a lot opened up for me with that
Mm.
loss.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, I can't even, you know, I just knew I was struggling in the friendship department in a lot of ways,
Mm.
and my other relationships too, right? Because all of
Yeah.
these things, they impact all areas of our life. Grief impacts every area of
Yeah.
our life, our money, everything. And I had closed
Yeah.
a business too. My youngest had
Yeah.
started kindergarten. That
Mm.
was in 2014, and that's really when all of everything kind of came to the forefront for me.
Mm.
And when my looking at my feelings I started to actually do that. But
Mm.
it's been a long process, but I realized I
Yeah.
wasn't okay. But I also wanted to help people.
Mm.
And I knew that I couldn't help people if I didn't feel like I was in a space to even help people, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
wanting to help people was a huge driver, but also wanting to
Mm.
feel good within my own body was too.
So
And
important. I'm so glad you say that. We
yeah,
always need to
I,
start with ourselves. Yeah.
I did a Google search and I found it, and that was that.
Mm.
And it's led to
Oh,
energy healing work, which
wow.
I'm a certified Biofield tuner, which uses tuning
Tell us
forks.
a little bit about that. I'd really
Yeah,
love to hear more about what that actually is.
yeah. That's my newest adventure, because before that, I'm a Reiki certified Reiki
Yeah.
master as well.
Yeah.
But
I think Reiki is
Biofield
something people are quite familiar with, but yeah, tell us about the biofield. What is it?
Biofield tuning, it
Awesome.
addresses the energy
The name in itself
field.
is already
Yeah.
has a
Well,
nice thing around it. Yeah.
yeah, because our energy field
Mm.
goes 5 to 6 feet out, extends
Hmm.
5 to 6 feet out.
Yeah.
So like when you meet somebody,
Hmm.
whether it's good or you get good vibes or like
You
kind
feel
of
it. Yeah.
yeah, you feel it's
I'm
your
very sensitive
energy
to that.
field.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
It's your energy field bumping into their
Yeah.
energy field. It's like we have these
Mm.
antennas. It's like we're caterpillars, and we've got all these,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm.
And so what biofield tuning said, the theory is that our memories are not stored in our mind. They're
Mm.
stored in our biofield, our
Yeah.
energy field. And the energy
Yeah.
field informs the body, and the body informs the energy field. And
Hmm.
so with the tuning fork, we can actually pick up the dissonance of where that is in our
Oh, yeah.
energy field. And it's,
That's
right,
incredible.
right up to your body is present day. And then
Yeah.
5 to 6 feet out is at gestation. And
Wow.
we work our way in. And so it's been pretty incredible, the things
Mm.
that can come up in someone's timeline of their
Mm.
life. And depending on where that is, it could be at the the knee chakra. It could be at one of the, the third eye or the throat chakra or the heart chakra. The back chakras, we work a lot with the back chakras as well. But it's all of my Reiki clients. I, when I was going through the training and things, they were my practice, practice people. They all
I am so fascinated by that. I'm so into everything that you just shared, and I'm a huge believer of it. And I'm very familiar with the process of timeline therapy because I've practiced that a lot. But that to me seems like, to the 10th, like it's just so incredible when you add energy healing, energy tuning to that. It's incredible. I absolutely love that. I've never heard of it before I read your bio. So I couldn't wait to have you explain a little bit about that and how it actually works. I assume that this is something that you only do in person, or can you do that online as well?
I can do it.
Well,
distance
every
too.
energy person really does it in distance as well. I'm not even sure what I'm asking, but yeah.
No, I can connect with people over the phone so they can hear the tuning forks, which you don't have to hear the tuning forks for it to work or for it to have an effect. It's just as effective. It's personal preference. I mean, personally, for my clients, I have some that don't mind the distance, some that prefer in person, but it's been pretty incredible what comes up. I mean, we can do so many different things. There's an adrenal reset where we just work on the adrenals specifically. There's
incredible.
It's it's been incredible. And the tuning forks, it's really crazy how I actually had a client where I'm like, your left ankle's coming up. And I wasn't even working on her left ankle. I'm like, did you sprain your ankle or twist it or something? She's like, a week ago, I sprained my left ankle. And so we have a tuning fork set there, a weighted fork set called the Schumann resonance set. And Schumann resonance it's based on science, but the electromagnetic energy or the frequency of the earth is caused from every lightning strike around the globe. And that energy frequency is called Schumann resonance. So this tuning fork set together is Schumann resonance, is the same frequency of the earth. And so I use these forks a lot on the body. So anyway, I put them on the left ankle and I put it on the right. She could feel the difference between the left and the right ankle. It's always like a thrumping, you can feel the difference in those. You can't hear the difference in the weighted forks, but she was like, wow, that is so cool.
I love it. I think it's so cool,
just
listening to you. I'm like, wow. Victoria, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I could have waited till after, but no, I'm going to put you on the spot. I've actually recently added a resource corner to our group, Loving Love After Loss, and I'd really love to have you in there as well, because I think what you offer, in particular that energy work, is something I've never heard before, and I really think it would be amazing to add you in there as well. But we'll chat after the interview about that a little bit more. I can
do group tunings too.
Oh, amazing. I love that. This is incredible. Victoria, I know time always flies when you're having such an interesting conversation, and I'm so drawn to the work that you do and the path that you have walked. I just want to say absolute huge kudos to you from where you have started as a child, the sources, the resources that you have been given, or rather not given, and what you have created for yourself, who you have become as a grown-up person, and what you give to the world right now. I'm having goosebumps. You are such a blessing to this world, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today and sharing just that little bit of your journey with us. So before I let you go, I'd love to hear, is there anything, any last things that you want to share with our audience? And we will definitely share all your links and to the book or website, etc. Have people get in touch with you in the comments below. Is there any message that you would like to leave us with?
I can tell you, after 30 plus years, never lose hope. Because it's not permanent, but it can be if you choose it to be permanent. if you choose to stay in that place. And there's always a way out. Always.
Thank
you
you
have to find
so
it.
much. I couldn't agree more. I love, love, love those words. So I'm not even going to add anything to it, because this is an absolute perfect final shout out to the world. Thank you so much for being here today, Victoria. This is Victoria Volk and Maria Leslie signing off. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being here today.